Good evening, spirits of light who are present here. Thank you again for your presence. Today, we will deal with a matter of utmost importance for the evolution of human beings. Much has been said about it, but little has been really absorbed. Today's topic is judgment. First of all, I would say that one of the main causes of the blockage in the evolution of the human being would be primarily the ego, the egocentricity. To submit to the ego is to let power, greed, that always wanting more, block the connection between the human being and the Christ energy being. This topic will be discussed in more detail in another session. Perhaps the second thing that most prevents the connection between the human being and the Christ energy being are the judgments. The judgments, in addition to blocking this communication, bring a lot of negativity towards other human beings. This is very present nowadays in the lives of human beings. The fact that we judge people makes us emit negative energies towards those people. Obviously, these emitted energies are returned with an equal or even greater intensity. It starts with the newly born baby and its relationship between mother and child, father and child, among brothers and sisters. In short, relationships within the family. When a mother, despite all the love she has for her child, tries to protect him, behind this action there is a judgment that says that the child cannot live without the protection of his mother or father. In fact, what we see in this situation is emanation of negative energy for their own child. On this subject, nature has much to say. I mean, parents and babies in the animal world have a lot to offer us in terms of knowledge. It is common at a certain age for animals to teach freedom to their young. They teach that it is important for babies to learn to act in accordance with their lives. In other words, to be independent from mother and father. Why don't we have these same actions, these same attitudes among us human beings? Obviously, it is important to establish behavior guidelines, but once this foundation is solidified, children have to stand on their own feet. Children have to learn to deal with the world. Parents' overprotection is so damaging to their children that if parents were aware of it, they would never do it, ever. This problem of overprotection has been growing more and more in today's world, and parents are raising their children less and less prepared for the outside world. So much so that this issue has been generating a negative egregor. In other words, an accumulation of negative energy for the material world as a whole. This issue can be felt all over the world, in all countries. That is why a great egregor of negative energy is formed for planet Earth. It seems like a small thing when you see it in your closer family unit, families within your family circle, or your neighbors, your co-workers. But it goes much further, and it is damaging the energy of planet Earth. And this occurs more and more in a group of people who should lead the new era, in a large group of people whose children are what is called indigo or crystal. They must prepare their children to lead the new generation, the new era. For this reason, these people who were spoiled in their childhood and who had their wishes fulfilled turn out to be weak adults, unprepared adults. These crystal children, indigo children, or other denominations who have the important mission of leading the new era are no longer prepared due to this overprotection. It is important that this group, these spirits of light, spread this message to the largest possible number of people who are parents of children who are the leaders of the new era. Not just the parents, but also the people who will take care of these indigo adults and crystal adults, who will need to make the necessary corrections so that this leadership is not a vain leadership for planet Earth. We are facing an unprecedented period due to this problem. In all the other generations, in all the other periods of planet Earth, we had very tough leaders. We had leaders with great independence. The exact opposite of what we see today. And because of this exaggeration of independence, the leaders allowed themselves to be dominated by the ego and did not listen to other people. They were so independent, so self-centered, that the opinion of any human being was irrelevant compared to these leaders' great ego. However, now, after a long time, the new generation of today has been penalized for the exact opposite issue, which would be the lack of independence. In other words, they cannot take actions that should be taken by them and not by other people. I hope you understand the importance of this message. If these corrections are not made again, the plan for the earth may fail. Again, the important and longed for spiritual evolution may not occur in this generation. And then the ascended masters will have to make new plans once again. This is one of the extremely important factors in this subject that we are discussing today about judgment. Another important issue, in addition to the relationship between parents and children, is the relationship amongst brothers and sisters. In fact, it is very important to mention the relationship between siblings, because in that relationship there is also great damage concerning judgment. Speaking a little more about the subject and connecting it with the subject related to the education provided by parents, it is important to say that parents should not have more children that they can care for, both in the moral, economic, and spiritual aspects. When the number of children a couple will have is defined in a person's reincarnation plan, there is a reason for it. What you see today are couples fighting against the plan of reincarnation. When the reincarnation plan says the united couple cannot biologically have children, this choice was carefully made by the couple with the help of light spirits for a specific reason. When a couple free-willingly decides to have children using treatments available in medicine, they go against the determinations of the reincarnation plan, and bad things can happen. Obviously, new karmas will be created, and bad things can occur. This is a negative fact for both parents and children. We can go into more detail in another session specifically about this topic. Returning to the issue of the parents, when parents have more children that they can support, more than those defined in the reincarnation plan, what occurs is an energy dispute between the children. Let's say that the couple is prepared biologically, spiritually, and financially, in addition to various other aspects, to have 2 children and have 3 children. What happens is that the couple does not have enough energy to raise more than 2 children. In this situation, the third child disputes the energy with the 2 children because he needs energy to survive. Then, the 3 siblings will grow up with the energy that should be used by only 2 siblings. Then, there will be an energy deficit for this family. And then, from a young age, children will learn to fight for energy. This struggle for energy will affect the character of each of these children as adults. These adults will continue to fight for energy, which is how they learn to get energy. Therefore, the life of these 3 individuals will always be to fight with other human beings to have enough energy for themselves. This struggle for energy is going to be cruel, not only for the 3 human beings, but also for the people who will relate with these 3 human beings, because all these people will also have to learn to fight so that their energies are not stolen in a way. Looking beyond this situation, we can understand the consequences of this in a large group of people. And when this happens in several families, we can have the dimension of the number of people who will be fighting each other to obtain the necessary energy for their survival. Master Tanaka, am I being clear in my statements? Yes. Okay, Master, so we can mention 2 types of judgments, 2 types of energy exchanges that have negative consequences for the earth: the energy between parents and children, and the energy between brothers and sisters. We can also mention the energy between married couples. When 2 human beings unite through marriage, it is expected that the energies between the 2 human beings will be shared with one another. However, what we see in some couples is a dominant one that sucks the energy of the other, causing a great imbalance between couples. Obviously, the dominated one, to obtain his energy, will go in search of other sources. Hence, again, an example of energy imbalance. When we talk about relationships in the corporate world, the issue is also clear concerning energies. Obviously, in this case, the dominant are the people who have a higher hierarchical level, and the dominated would be their subordinates. Clearly, the exchange of energy will always favor the dominant, while the dominated ends up with less energy. So once more, we see this imbalance. This energy imbalance is what causes diseases, is what causes negative emotions, is what creates affliction in the world. It is necessary to review the way in which human beings treat each other. It is necessary to have balance within the family. This is essential. It is the basis of everything. If there is balance within the family, the members of this family will not need to obtain energy outside the family nucleus. If each family is aware of this, the world will change radically. Therefore, the family unit is very important for humanity as a whole. Evidently, Once human beings learn to obtain this energy not from another human being, but in other ways, such as absorbing the energy of nature, these issues will be more balanced. It is important to know that the energy lacking within a family unit or within a corporation can be obtained through nature. That is why nature was created. For example, it is clear and perceptible the energy emanating from inside a forest, the energy emanating from the sea and waterfalls is also evident. God made nature so that human beings could at any moment be supplied with energy from the elements of nature. However, this fact is not shared amongst human beings. As we mentioned at the beginning, one way to get energy is judgment itself. When you believe yourself to be superior to a certain person, and that person is subjected to your ego, this person, without knowing how to defend herself, generates a loss of energy for the benefit of the person with the greatest ego. Another lesson that the human being must learn is that he must know how to defend themselves against the energetic attacks of other human beings. So, in this matter, there is a large amount of information that must be absorbed by human beings so that these negative exchanges no longer exist. Bullying is an example of this evil exchange. The exchange of energy between human beings should be something beneficial for all, not something harmful. Obviously, when a person good willingly offers love, affection, a word of comfort to another person, this is a donation of energy in a positive way. And energy donated in a positive way never drains the amount of energy from the person who is donating. Using a metaphor, just as Jesus used to do with his disciples, taking as an example a glass of water, imagining that a person with a good heart donates his energy to someone in need, is like a glass of water that supplies another glass of water. But the first glass of water always receives water from nature, that is, from God. Therefore, this glass will always overflow with water. No matter how much water is given, this glass of water will always be full of energy, because God's energy is infinite. Therefore, in this session, several important things were mentioned to raise the energy level of humanity as a whole. When the human being is aware that the energy necessary for his or her realization can come from nature, and that it does not need to come from another human being, things tend to change radically in the world. Divergences of ideas will no longer be a reason for the theft of energy, and this must begin first within the family nucleus. The father and mother must know how to balance energies in the house, and these energies must be donated in a satisfactory way for your children, so that your children do not need to steal energy outside the family unit. Also, among friends or among co-workers, this energy imbalance, this energy theft will no longer be necessary, since all will be balanced. It is important to mention that people who believe in God, people who pray, who have faith in the Christ energy, will always be supplied with energy. This is what God wanted when He created us in His image and likeness. It is that all human beings could receive energy from the Christ energy being. However, due to a series of historical issues, the link between the Christ being and the human being is increasingly smaller. What science has already proven to be a string of light is the link between the Christ being and the human being. It should be a tube of light. Each one of us should have a tube of light in which God radiates abundant and constant energy for all human beings. However, as this communication between the Christ being and the human being is narrower, in most of the human beings, the only thing that connects the Christ being with the human being is a small thread called silver thread. I hope that I have expressed myself well so that these teachings, so important to humanity, are revealed in the most adequate way possible, and with the urgency necessary for the beings of the new era to be redesigned, corrected, and get back on track. I believe that the message has been transmitted correctly today. Therefore, I close the session. Thank you very much for your presence, and so be it. Thank God.